What's on? Chris here from the inkslinger.co.uk here with your weekly roundup of nerdy news. It's the Word Slinger. And of course, we've got our standard fare of comic book related articles this week, including a bit of a chat about Convergence, DC's big event, another Secret Wars update. That's Marvel's big event. They're going head to head this summer. And some other things, some movie news, some TV news. First of all, though, something has hit the airwaves over the last week or so about the possibility of famous British actor, notable British actor, I think, Idris Elba, possibly taking up a role of the main protagonist for Simon Pegg and Carl Jung's Star Trek 3. I should probably actually call it Justin Lin's Star Trek 3 because he's the director, but who actually, if you've seen my rant a couple of weeks ago, who actually knows what's going on with that film? So Idris Elba, now the internet loves Idris Elba. Every single time any role comes up in any sci-fi thing, the internet just goes, Idris Elba! There was a huge campaign, I say huge, I don't know how big it actually was, but there was a campaign certainly to get him to be the next Doctor Who. Obviously it was Peter Capaldi who got that role. There's been talk in the media recently about him being the next Bond after Daniel Craig. Of course, MGM and some exec has basically said that Daniel Craig is going to be Bond open-ended. But they sort of ended with, yeah, we love Idris Elba. Everyone loves Idris Elba. So yes, there's talk. Is he going to be the protagonist, the villain in the next Star Trek movie, Star Trek 3? Now, I don't think we know much about this film. I don't think it's been written yet. The word on the net is that it's going to feature Klingons as the main protagonist. It's probably about time, to be fair. They were major protagonists for the original series Star Trek. Now, this is what this is supposed to be all about. So, would Idris Elba be a Klingon? Would he make a good Klingon? Probably. I think he would make a good pretty much anything. Now, Simon Pegg has actually been chatting about how Star Trek 3 is going to be about getting back to basics, man. Getting back to the ethos of the original series. I don't think that's any bad thing. Star Trek Into Darkness was a very dark film, and it was closer to Deep Space Nine in its tone, actually. And Deep Space Nine itself has its own sort of special group of fans. And sort of it was considered to be slightly apart from general Trek canon because of the dark nature of it. So it'd be quite nice to see getting back to basics. Obviously, more news on Trek 3 whenever it surfaces right here on the Word Slinger. So I've now just got a whole host of DC and Marvel stories for you, which is becoming the norm. But hey, I love it. Now, Constantine, NBC's Constantine, you may know if you've seen some of the early episodes of this show. I love Constantine. I think it's a great program. Out of all of the DC solicitations that hit the the TV networks over the last 6 months, and that is The Flash, Gotham, Constantine, and iZombies just hit, I think, within the last couple of weeks. Constantine was by far my favourite. And it's done the worst, and it has been looking for a long time like it's just not going to get renewed. Now, the executive producer, Daniel Cerrone, has taken onto Twitter the other day, a couple of days ago, and essentially said that NBC are going to be making their considerations for any further renewals at the end during. Actually, I'm sure he said May, but I've got written down here end of April. So I guess we'll look at end of April. So maybe for a May announcement. So could we hear about... That's it. So the NBC are taking on board pitches for second season ideas, and they'll make their decision towards the end of April, start of May. But really, will they? I mean, it hasn't looked great for Constantine. I would be very, very pleased if it did come back for a second season. It's certainly the fan base has just taken over social media with how much they love it. There's petitions. But there's petitions for most things these days. There's been the hashtag Save Constantine has been everywhere, and things went a bit quiet for a long time actually, when basically NBC said we're not going to make a decision anytime soon, so you might as well shut up. And so people did, and that's kind of a shame. I think maybe if the social media had continued its explosion of support for Constantine, we might be getting somewhere. Turned out that the rumours of the supposed move to sci-fi were possibly false. Haven't seen them being completely debunked. Even some sort of notable news sites such as IGN still don't necessarily report it as definitely being not true rumours, but nobody really knows. Is it that we're going to see more Constantine in the end of April, or is it actually just the end for Constantine? Sad times. Now, old Hugh Jackman's been on Twitter this week, and you might recognise him. He's played a character 1 or 2 times, Wolverine, and he's sort of been off and on social media talking about, yeah, I think I will. I don't think I'll play Wolverine anymore. That was a famous one of I don't know, possibly up to a year or so ago now, to which I'm sure several fans were heartbroken. And he was sort of talking about how, yeah, I think it'd be good if the role was recast. And then he came on board for Days of Future Past, and then basically, and obviously the Wolverine, and after that said, I'm going to play Wolverine for the rest of my life, but with an Australian accent. And then he's just sort of been up and down in between. And he took to social media this week, basically with a picture. I'll post it, but he had his 2 hands up like this. This one had claws, and this one didn't. And I think he posted something like Wolverine one last time. And interesting, because we know that they're coming up with the Wolverine 3, or the sequel to The Wolverine. I'm not sure what they'll call it. And everyone was expecting that he'd turn up in X-Men Apocalypse. Everyone was expecting he'd turn up in Deadpool. Everyone was expecting he'd turn up in God knows how many other X-Men projects are actually on the cards. But is it possible that he might actually just do the Wolverine and then finally hang up those claws? Who knows? He'll probably change his mind within a couple of weeks. So I guess more news on that when it comes. Hey, so Ryan Reynolds posted a photograph of him in the Deadpool costume this week. That's pretty cool. The Deadpool movie is finally going ahead. It's been in sort of development hell for years and years after the absolute tragic end of the beginning of the end, or the end of the beginning, or just the plain old crapness that was Deadpool's appearance in Wolverine, X-Men Origins Wolverine. The movie is finally going ahead. Who knows how they're going to make up for that absolute panning they did of the character in that film? Like, ruined it, utterly ruined it, and then killed him at the end. Who actually knows? You know how they're going to do that, but it is going ahead, and Ryan Reynolds has been pictured in the costume, and he looks awesome, looks properly. I particularly like, and I hope you'll notice if I put it on the screen now, that it looks like the eyepieces actually are going to move as well, which is, it happens in all comics, but it would be good. It never happens in movies, obviously, because it's just a piece of artistic flair. But Deadpool's a little bit different. If you're not sure about the character Deadpool, he basically knows that he's in a comic, and so the chances are this movie is going to be interesting because he's going to know that he's in a film, if they play it right. So I'm looking forward to seeing that. So one of the big questions that is coming out of Marvel's Secret Wars is, what will be the fate of Miles Morales? Now, we've spoken about Miles Morales several times over the last couple of months here on Wordslinger, and who really knows? I mean, he is I don't want to completely rehash those conversations again and again and again, but he is the last ditch hope of the Marvel Ultimate Universe, and as we by now know, Marvel's Ultimate Universe is going to be no more, and I think it's going to be ending very, very soon, in fact. And there's been lots of speculation what will happen to Miles Morales, and actually this week he's been revealed as part of a Free Comic Books Day in a bizarre turn. Actually, we've had a preview of a post Secret Wars Marvel Universe. This is good, because I was very, very concerned. I have been very, very concerned. I'm still kind of concerned, but I feel a little bit better about it, that Battleworld is just going to be there forever. But we've had a revealing of a comic book called The All New, All Different Avengers. Now that's a title. Okay, try saying that 10 times fast. And on the cover of All New, All Different Avengers, we have several characters. We've got Iron Man. We've got the new female Thor. We've got Sam Wilson as Captain America. So all of this looking like it's going to go back to how it is, which is quite good. We've also got a Vision. We've got Ms. Marvel, and that's the new Ms. Marvel, Kamala Khan. And we've got Nova, the Sam Alexander Nova. And we've also got Miles Morales, Spider-Man. So it looks like we will actually get Miles Morales, Ultimate Spider-Man, existing in the core Marvel universe at the end of Battleworld. And it's quite an interesting Avengers lineup as well. We've got 2 classic characters in Iron Man and Vision, assuming that it is actually Tony Stark under the armor. Of course, who knows? We've got 2 kind of takes on classic characters. We've got obviously Lady Thor, and we've got Sam Wilson's Captain America. Is that going to stay? I'm not sure. I kind of hope not, but I think it's been made to be a pretty final move. And we've got these 3 kind of like kid characters, basically. So Ms. Marvel is just like the Spider-Man of the 21st century. I think she's got this huge fan base of teenagers identifying with her. So she's a good one to bring into the spotlight in Avengers. Got Nova. I knew absolutely nothing about. When I was last reading Marvel on a regular basis, Nova was a guy, so not really sure about Sam Alexander. Unless it is a guy. It doesn't look like a guy in a picture. And of course you've got Miles now. We've spoken again about Miles a lot over the last couple of weeks. Not the massive fan that a lot of people are, but only because I haven't read much with Miles Morales in. But I guess we'll have to see. Some of the talk on the net has been, does this mean, is there really place in the standard Marvel universe for 2 Spider-Men? And does this mean that they're going to be retiring Peter Parker? I hope not. That's all I'll say on that. So Convergence is upon us. Now, I've been reporting for the last 2 months about how Convergence, DC's big event for the summer, is starting in May. How wrong was I? It's apparently starting tomorrow, or actually by the time I've got this video uploaded, today. With Wednesday's new comic book day will come Convergence issue 0. Now, I'm way out. I'm a whole month out of myself. That means that basically DC Universe, or New 52 Universe, as you know it, is basically done now. Convergence issue 0 is going to set the ball rolling, and I think it's going to be then a 9-part series, so 9 weeks. It's 9 weekly issues. $5 a piece though, so I mean that is a fairly hefty ask. Now there's going to be obviously every single DC comic book has been put on hold. A number of them have been cancelled. We've spoken about that. I won't go into more detail about that now. Every single surviving book has been put on hold. And then we've got, I think, 40 Convergence tie-in titles over the next 2 months. Personally, I'm not made of money, so I'm probably going to be reading the main title, the main Convergence title, so I can get the gist of what's going on around. But cool, that's exciting. I'm actually really looking forward to reading Convergence, even though as I've said many times, I am totally post New 52 all the way. I'm looking forward to seeing how they're going to do this mishmash of pre-New 52 with post New 52 stuff. And then finally this week it's time for our Secret Wars update. Now we've got 4 new titles have been announced in the last week, and actually a couple of them look like they might be really good. The first one, we've actually got a new title under the Battle World. We haven't seen any of those for quite some time. It's all been war zones. Under Battle World, we've got a book just called Red Skull. It's going to be a 3-issue I want to call it a one-shot. It's clearly not going to be a one-shot. It's going to be a 3-shot. But a 3-issue miniseries, essentially, about how the Red Skull has been exiled into the wastes of Battleworld and basically is presumed dead. And I think because he's such a concern to everyone, a team of villains is sent into Battleworld to find out if he is dead, essentially, and that's the premise I've got. So the villains are going to include Magneto, Lady Deathstrike, the Winter Soldier, and Electro, and possibly more as well. So yeah, that'll be, I guess, an interesting story. I don't think much of many of the Battle World moniker titles don't look that interesting. It's mainly the war zones, I think, that seem the most appealing from my perspective. So we've actually got 3 new war zones titles this week. The first one is called Siege. Now, Siege was a fairly low-key Marvel event comic a few years ago now, which sort of was the end of the Norman Osborn's Dark Avengers saga, and it ended with Norman Osborn basically laying a siege on Asgard, which if you either read Marvel Comics or have seen the Thor movies, know that it's the realm where Thor comes from, basically. And it was a bit meh, I thought. I didn't think that much of Siege. There's definitely been better events, but I think that could be said for a lot of DC and Marvel stuff. Apparently it's got nothing to do with Siege. So I don't really know why they're calling it Siege. So I feel like I've missed something here, because the premise that Marvel are giving out is that it's about a bunch of heroes posted on the Shield. What is the Shield? Not 100% sure, but apparently the Shield is basically a border between what is on the north and what is on the south. Very Game of Thrones, but maybe the other way around. So the heroes on the Shield are essentially trying to stop whatever is south from getting north. That is the premise we've got. It's a mixed bunch, though. We've got Agent Brand, who I think is the green-haired one from Sword. We've got Miss America and Kate Bishop, both from the Young Avengers. We've got a character called Leah from Journey into Mystery, know nothing about. We've got Ilyana Rasputin from the X-Men, Uncanny X-Men, I think. And we've got a bunch of clones called the Endless Summer. The tagline's quite good. It's called They Can't Ever Win, and They Can't Afford to Lose. That's pretty cool. Sounds interesting, but not really sure what the point is, maybe, or where it ties into everything else. Spider Island is coming back. Now, that was a fairly big... It wasn't really a Marvel event. It was definitely a Spider-Man event, though, and I think it did cross through into a number of other books as it was sort of rolling. Now, Spider Island is coming back. This is going to be a what-if story. Basically, what if Spider Island was never fixed? Now, in Spider Island, basically, everyone on New York City, or everyone in New York City, everyone on Manhattan Island, I think, basically got Spider-Man's powers. And so it's like, what if that never stopped? Okay. And then finally, we've got Captain Britain and the Mighty Defenders. Now, this doesn't seem so interesting to me. There is a tidbit of information that does pique my interest here, and essentially the breakdown of Captain Britain and the Mighty Defenders is that it's about one portion of the battle world, or one realm of the battle world, annexing another one, and it's going to be about the crossover between these realms. So actually, over the last couple of weeks, I've just been speculating about, will there be any crossover between the Battle World realms? And I didn't think it was going to be possible, because you've got things like X-Men 92 and you've got Old Man Logan existing as separate Battle World realms. Now, that doesn't seem to me that there's that much scope for things crossing over there, because you've got, well, 2 versions of Wolverine living in different parts of the world. I don't really know. One of them's old and one of them's a cartoon from the 90s. You've got Spider-Man Renew Your Vows, and then you've got Spider-Verse going on, and actually now you've got Spider Island going on. So again, it doesn't seem like there's that much sense in having things cross over between there, because, well, hang on, there's loads of different Peter Parker Spider-Mans doing different things. But this seems to imply that actually there will be crossover between these realms, and I'm kind of interested to see how that might play out. It might be that actually the solicitation from Marvel has not been quite as clear as it could have been, and actually it's maybe one realm that is being cut in half, but certainly interesting stuff. So that's all from Secret Wars this week. That's all from me this week as well. I think I've spoken to you long enough now. I could speak to you all day. I think you probably listened to me for long enough. So as always, come say hey on Twitter. It's at Lord_Chancellor. Please do sound off in the comments below, and I'll see you at theinkslinger.co.uk, and I will see you next week. Until then, goodbye.